Hi guys, welcome to the Up All Night Book Club podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan. I am a senior-ish aerospace engineering student. I go part-time, so I'll be here for a while. And I am the project organizer of our club.
Hi there, my name is Abby. I'm currently a freshman here at UCF and a history major. I'm vice president here at our book club, and I'm super excited to begin this podcast.
My name's Allie Young. I am the president of the UpAllKnight Book Club. I am studying finance at UCF and I'm a junior, and I really like talking about books, so I'm super excited.
All right, so let's hop into it. But before we go, I want to give a quick disclaimer. This book contains information that can be sensitive to some people. It includes depression and ideations of suicide. So viewers, you have been warned. So, Abby, do you want to take the summary of the book?
So we're just going to read the summary from inside the cover of the book right now. So The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. Between life and death, there is a library. Up until now, Nora Seed's life has been full of misery and regret. She feels she has let everyone down, including herself. But things are about to change. When she finds herself in the Midnight Library, she has a chance to make things right. The books in the Midnight Library enable Nora to live as if she had done things differently. Each one contains a different life, a possible world in which she makes different choices that play it out in an infinite number of ways, affecting everyone she knew as well as many people she never met. With the help of an old friend, she can now undo every decision she regrets as she tries to work out her perfect life. But things aren't always what she'd imagined they'd be, and soon her choices place the library and herself in extreme danger. Before time runs out, she must answer the ultimate question: what is the best way to live? And we also want to give a bit more about the author. Matt Haig is a 25-time published author who has received critical acclaim for his memoir, Reasons to Stay Alive. He's written for all ages with his children's book, A Boy Called Christmas, currently being adapted for film. He currently resides in Brighton with his family, where he continues to write in his 26th book, The Comfort Book, a nonfiction piece about all the good things in life comes to stores in the UK in July 2021. His books have been translated into up to 30 different languages, and he has sold over 3 million books worldwide. And you can follow him on Twitter at Matt Haig1, all lowercase.
Man, that's crazy. 30 books. And we were just talking about this right before. You said like he wrote them all within like 20 years, right?
Yeah, the first one was published in 2004.
Wow.
And he's been going. A lot of them were children's books, but like, that's still a lot.
Yeah. Dude writes. All right. Yeah. So I looked up some fun facts, and what was really interesting is Nora was originally written as a male character when he first started the book. But as he was writing, he felt like it was too similar to himself. Because he has another book called Reasons to Stay Alive, where he talks about his mental health. And he just felt like it was too personal, too close to himself, and he wanted to separate that a little bit. So he made Nora Seed. It's interesting. And the musician's life, one of the alternate lives, stems from his own himself taking some piano lessons as a kid, and he stopped, and he wondered, what if I kept going with that? What would happen? And he does not like editing his work. He likes to get that first draft out, and then he likes to do minimal editing.
Yes, that explains why he writes so fast.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. So when I was looking up, he wrote this book in 2019 and published it in 2020. So,
well, I mean, that memoir, he wrote it while he was editing this one. It has to have been.
True. That's true. Yeah.
So do you want to start off, like, each of us giving our thoughts, having now read the book, like what we thought of it?
Sure. Are we going to go into spoilers, or are we going to do like first half spoiler-free?
Let's go into spoilers.
Yeah, I think if you're going to listen to the podcast about the book,
I just want to make sure. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So this is our spoiler warning. All right. Do you want to go first, Allie? We haven't heard much from you yet.
Yeah,
sure. So overall, I liked the book. I did end up rating it 3 out of 5 stars. I thought the premise of the book and the message he was giving to the audience feels really important and powerful. There was just a few things that I just didn't love in it, and like the writing. But again, I really liked the overall story, and I think this is a really fun book to discuss with friends and just like the club in general, because everyone pulls something different from this book, and it's just really interesting to hear others' opinions.
Yeah, definitely. I really liked it too. I rated it 5 out of 5 stars. I think I just read it at like the right point in time. Like I was going through some stuff myself, thinking about all the regrets. Like literally right before I read the book, I was thinking about all the regrets I had, and that book just helped put a lot of things in perspective. And I think that's the biggest thing I took away from it was perspective. And we'll talk more about that later. What do you think, Abby?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I'm a freshman in a pandemic, so regrets and like possible life choices have been pretty big on my mind. And this book was just a really good read. I think I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. I like rarely ever give anything 5 stars, so it was still an amazing book. But I think it's like you said, Jonathan, it was just like at the right time for me, so it just was amazing.
Yeah, definitely. I give a lot of 5 stars. I'm bad about that. If I like the book and I like think about it for a while, I'm like, that was a 5 star book. If it
I'm
like
kind
sit
of
well
picky
with
with
me.
my 5 stars. I'm like, if it made me cry, laugh, like all of the above, 5 stars.
I don't know. I always feel bad for like giving a book like over 4 stars. I'm like, what are people gonna say? I think I liked it too much.
I don't care what people think.
Yeah.
I just do it. Like really, at the end of the day, like when I look back and look at books I read a couple years ago, I'm like, oh yeah, 5 stars. Okay, I really did enjoy that book. I don't remember half of what was in it, but I liked it. So let's talk about what we best liked about this book. Um, I think the message, that change in perspective that I took away, was what I liked best about it. Just like, yeah,
My favorite part was just being able to like go into her shoes and live out all these different lives that she once thought was how she should be living her life. And I just thought that that was a really fun way of doing it. And I've never read a book that put me in that perspective. And it makes it really easy to kind of reflect that on your own life. And I think that's just, it's really cool that he was able to do that.
yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say my favorite part of the book has to be the concept. Like, how many times have you been like, oh, what if I did this? What if I did that? And putting it in like this library sort of setting and having you do that, I think was just a really cool way to go about it.
Yeah. So, what do you guys think your library would be? Would it be a library? Would it be a movie store? Like we saw Hugo's was a movie store. What do you guys think yours would be?
I would hope mine's a library. I think that that's so fun. I don't know what else it would be.
No, I'm trying to think. Like, I feel like that like the concept's cool, but I mean there are a lot of kind of if you think too hard about it, a lot of plot holes come to the surface where it's
Yeah.
like, what if like I know people who don't even like listening to music. What is their library? What is their library, quote unquote, going to
Right.
be?
Right.
One that
Um,
just like popped up in my head was like an airport and like you get on a different plane and then you start like a
oh
new
wait,
life. I thought that was kind of cool.
that is
Okay.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like mine would be a music store. Like
Yeah.
different instruments would leave the different lives. But the only thing about that is there's only like limited amount of instruments.
I mean, there are
And
a lot of
there's
instruments,
a lot. But there's not infinite amount of instruments like there are books or
Yeah.
movies.
or even just like a CD store
True.
with like different music.
That's
Mhm.
true. You also have music books and sheet music and whatnot. I didn't think
So
about that.
that could work. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That could
cute.
work. Yeah. Yeah. I think that would be mine. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Totally.
feel like the whole thing with the books is like every book wasn't like an actual book that's existed. Each book represented a life. So if you took it out, it was just blank. And then once you opened it, it had everything inside.
Right. True. True. Yeah. So, what'd you guys like least about this book?
I know Allie already has something.
Abby, you can go first.
oh, I guess at times it got a little bit too on the nose. Like some of the things were a bit preachy. But I think it was like you said, Jonathan, it was kind of what I needed when I read it, so I didn't mind it. But by the third read, I was like, okay, you can stop.
Yeah.
This is taking me out.
Yeah.
Mine would be also preachy, and then also I felt it was really repetitive. Um, After like the third life, we kind of understand what's happening, and it was just a constant So I would say those two things were just like the main negatives I had about the book.
I actually thought we should have seen more lives. Like, I thought it would have been interesting to see more variations on lives or whatnot. Thought that might have been fun. When I say my least favorite part, I got really annoyed in the beginning with like how he did the one-page chapters. I was like, it's gonna be like this the whole book, because I like to read a chapter and then go to bed. I'm like, I'm not gonna read a page and then go to bed,
Yeah.
you know. But then like as I was reading, I understood why he did that. It seemed I also listened to a podcast, and it's like an artistic choice of his to do that. But to me, it seemed like Nora's like mental health affected how the chapters were. Like, she was in a bad place in the beginning, so everything was very short. You know, like she couldn't process more than just a little bit at a time. And then like as she started experiencing these different lives, the chapters got longer. Partly because those lives, but also like I feel like she was in a little bit of a better place, so she could process more information.
That's very interesting. I didn't pick that up when I
I didn't either.
initially read it.
Yeah, I like small details like that. So, what other books did this remind you guys of?
I don't have books, but I had a movie.
Yeah.
Like this reminded me so much of It's a Wonderful Life. I don't know if any of you guys have seen that, but the whole
It's been a
plot of
long
it is
time.
like the guy, he wishes he was never born.
Mhm.
And then so an angel takes him back and is like, okay, this is the world where you were never born. And sort of like what happens to her, and I forget his name, the kid she tutored with piano,
Oh,
where like because she didn't tutor this kid, he went down this really bad path, and now his life is kind of ruined. We sort of realized that if this guy was never born, the entire town would fall apart. And so it just really reminded me of that.
to me, it was also a movie. It was what's it called? The Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
Ooh. Isn't it like where the guy he just like lives in his head the whole time and like
Kind of, yeah, yeah. He daydreams a lot. Kind of lives different lives in his daydream. It's like it wasn't an exact comparison, but it reminded me of that.
I can see that.
What about you, Ellie?
I don't have any books that it like initially reminded me of, or movies really. It was kind of just its own thing for me.
I guess that's part of why it's so cool though, because there's so few that have like tackled this concept because it is really heavy and it's
Yeah,
really delicate. Like he had to go about it very carefully.
Mhm.
yeah,
And there's so many outlets that any author could do, like if they were to like redo this whole idea. There's so many different avenues that you could go, just have a different character and that character's interest, or like a brand new bucket of things to pull from. So you would get a different experience, like just trying someone else out.
yeah. Definitely, definitely. I read that he took some inspiration from the Library of Babel, I think it was called. Um, I don't know much about it. That might be something to look into later. That's just a fun little tidbit right there. Um, oh man. So, characters that you liked the least.
I think we all know where this is going. It's
Yeah.
Dan. Dan was awful.
Yeah.
Dan was a piece of work. Yeah,
Yeah. Didn't really care for that.
I almost
yeah,
felt like now that I've like thought about it, I almost feel like he's almost too awful. Because like I know Nora was in this really terrible headspace where she didn't have the self-confidence to stand up for herself in that relationship.
hmm
But there's almost like no qualities we get to see why she fell for him in the first place when she was in this okay headspace at the beginning. Why did she go for this art history major who does nothing but talk about himself and put her down?
yeah,
I mean, I think it would have been really interesting to see the beginning of their relationship a bit more, to see why she felt like she needed to cling on to it. Because we kind of got a sense of that with her mother saying, like, oh, he's a good guy. You need to hold on to that. But there was no basis for that claim, so it just felt really weak.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like within like the whole story, I felt like we could have benefited a lot from like a really good before all this happened, and really gather like an understanding for like the family dynamics, the friend dynamics, and more about Dan. And I felt like we could have benefited so much from that and just like understood the story even more. And I definitely thought that a few times throughout the book.
yeah. For some reason, I didn't really like the brother. Joel was his name, I think.
Yeah.
I feel like he was a little underdeveloped as a character. Like, I just didn't have an emotional attachment to him. Like when that one scene with the river, I just didn't really care. Like when she like, oh, he did, try to save, like, go out and save me, and he wanted to help. I didn't have an emotional attachment. I was like, okay, like, all right.
I get that. Like I liked him at the end, but it felt like his character did like a complete 180
Yeah,
with no basis. Where like,
yeah,
I mean, of course, having your sister like attempt to take her own life is a pretty big moment where you might want to self-reflect and change a lot. Um, but he went from being like this pretty not great person who just completely cut her off to, oh my gosh, you're the best thing that's happened. We both have similar things going on. Let's talk it out together. Let's help
yeah,
each other. And
It's unfortunate that that's the event that had to happen for that to come about,
mhm.
yeah,
which is kind of annoying for a character.
yeah, yeah,
I guess that comes back to, like you said, Jonathan, you want to see more lives. Maybe if we'd seen more lives where he hadn't been so terrible, because I think most of the lives like the only life where he had like two lives where he had significant impact was when she was like an Olympic swimmer, when he was like her manager,
hmm,
and then the one when she was in the band and he had died.
yeah,
And I wish we'd see more lives when he had had that significant impact so we could have seen maybe how he had that complete character switch.
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. And I wondered, do you think maybe he went to his own library of his own? Because he was kind of gone on his own for a while. Do you think maybe he had an experience like that?
I mean, he was an alcoholic.
Yeah,
Maybe he
yeah,
had like alcohol poisoning one night and just was like, I went to my own library. Or he would probably have a music store.
probably, probably, yeah,
That'd be
yeah.
a cool second book.
Yeah.
Getting perspective on everything.
That'd be cool to have it from somebody else's perspective. Yeah, like,
Oh, you know whose perspective I want to see? Oh goodness, what's his name? The guy from the Arctic.
oh, Hugo.
Hugo, yes.
Yeah,
His
That'd be
perspective.
really cool.
Yeah.
yeah, Hugo, interesting guy.
He's still out there, I swear.
I know.
He's still doing it.
Yeah,
But how do we know?
Well, yeah.
well,
That's
yeah,
the whole
like,
thing.
because like the library almost collapsed for Nora. So do we know his music store didn't collapse on, or his video store
Yeah, because
didn't
he had
collapse
a
on him?
brain aneurysm.
Yeah,
So did
Mm.
they ever heal him? Did he come back or is he just gone? That's depressing.
I don't know. Seems like he would have some interesting stories.
Hmm. And like, why did he feel such a strong attachment to Nora?
I don't know.
Like
That's a
he said, like
good
the
question.
whole reason I'm in this life is because of you at one point, and it's like,
That's
I
weird.
mean, why?
Maybe he's just playing mind games. He seems like that type of guy.
Maybe.
But I wonder how many other people he's like come across that, are also in their own library.
Hmm.
Did he mention he came across a couple others and called them sliders?
Yeah,
Slide.
maybe like she was just special. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe that would be the question to ask the author if we had to ask the
Hmm.
author a question. If you were making a movie of this book, who would you cast and why?
Mm.
I'm gonna be honest, I could not picture this as a movie.
Really?
Yeah, honestly, when I heard it was a radio broadcast, I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Like almost like an audio podcast, because so much of this book is about self-reflection,
Mhm.
and I feel like making it into a movie, like, I mean, maybe I'm weird, but like whenever I watch movies, I'm focusing on the movie. I'm not thinking about the movie as it's going about versus like a book or like a audio thing. So I don't know, I couldn't really picture this as a movie.
I think it'd be hard to really do the book justice because there's so many elements to it. Kind of like you were saying, that there's such a deeper meaning than just enjoying the film as we normally do. So that would be challenging. But I definitely pictured Hugo to be like this big beard, just, hardcore guy. But I don't know what actor that would be.
I don't know. I pictured Pedro Pascal. Like that facial
That's
hair.
good.
I don't know why.
Oh, you know who I pictured as Pedro Pascal?
Who?
Dan.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? No, I pictured Pedro, no, oh my gosh. Dan more as like what's his name? Ed Sheeran for whatever reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's because like he acts kind of Irish, I guess. I don't know if Ed Sheeran's Irish, but he gives off Irish vibes, I
Irish
guess.
vibes.
Yeah.
He didn't want to make a pub.
Yeah, he did. So maybe this will work better as our TV show then, since we
This
can't
would
really.
probably be such a good TV show
Yeah,
where it's like each episode is a different life.
yeah, and you can leave off on
That'd
a
be
good
really good.
cliffhanger. Like I don't know, like the polar bear scene would be a great cliffhanger.
That
I would
would
just
be.
have to watch the next
I loved
episode.
that chapter where it was just her saying like, "Are we allowed to curse on the podcast?"
Um,
Probably
I don't
not.
know.
Okay,
I
but
don't
where
know.
she drops just the entire chapter is just like her saying one single expletive.
Yeah, that
Like
was
that's the
funny.
entire chapter. I was like, yeah.
I loved
That
it.
was funny. Yeah. Man, I want more Arctic adventures after reading that chapter.
That was my favorite scene of the whole book. Like I absolutely loved it.
That was one of my favorite lives.
It
Yeah.
kind of goes back to what you said where we want more lives, but like more exciting ones. Like she
Yeah.
always talks about doing this like research at Cambridge for like philosophy, but we never hear more about it. We never hear like what she does with it, and I think that'd be more cool.
Yeah, I think maybe the author didn't touch on that because it was kind of irrelevant.
Yeah, I mean, like one thing that came to my mind was like there was a few quotes that was just, what you want to do maybe isn't what you really want. And like even though you might want all these exciting and elaborate events to happen in your life, maybe that's not what you genuinely want. So maybe that's why we got a lot of boring kind of, but there were a few exciting ones. But
Yeah, like you're not defined by your job. Like you're a lot more than that. Like being an Olympic swimmer, you're not defined by that. Like she still had mental health issues. Like she was still almost in the same spot she was in her base life, her root life. Just she went to the Olympics instead. Um, so yeah, that takes us to like our quotes, like what our favorite quotes are. Mine was, if you stay too long in a place, you forget just how big an expanse the world is. You get no sense of the length of those longitude and latitudes. Just as, she supposed, it is hard to have a sense of the vastness inside any one person. I don't know, that just really resonated with me. 'Cause I did a lot of traveling a couple of years ago. Like the world just seemed so big, and now we're in lockdown, or we were in lockdown, and just staying in the house, just a big change, and you just forget all of those experiences sometimes. That your world just shrinks.
That is really interesting. I can't. That's a really good quote, actually. Now that you've like said it, I'm like thinking of this scene, and I'm like, wow, that was really good.
Yeah, that was on page 134. I think that was in Arctic, I think.
And that kind of, I guess, I don't know. I guess
Yeah.
that kind of relates to what Nora was feeling at the beginning,
Yeah.
where she felt so trapped.
Yeah.
She didn't, and like with social media, especially, like she felt like the world was so small and everything was so trapped because she couldn't leave anywhere. And I don't know.
Yeah, that was from the chapter Island. It's a one-page chapter. Um, I would recommend it. It's good. I'm not going to read the whole chapter.
Yeah, my favorite quote was, I think it's from like her first life, where she said, "This was a life where she put 4 exclamation marks in a row. That was probably what happier, less uptight people did." And I just thought that was a really wonderful way of putting, like when there are times in your life when you are so sad, you forget what happy is like, and you amount it to tiny little things like putting 4 exclamation marks in a row, exclamation marks in a row, and wearing clear nail polish. And I think back to like when I'm most sad, I use an insane amount of like exclamation marks and emojis trying to like disguise it. So for me, it's the opposite. And it's just, I thought it was a really unique way to characterize Nora and how she in a way quantified happiness as these little things rather than what she felt. She thought it was actions, like being with someone, having a thing, doing certain things rather than whether or not she was truly happy.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting because when I read that, I thought like that's very superficial of her to think that.
I thought it was just interesting because it's like everyone classifies happiness differently. And it was just interesting to see how she views happiness, how, she thinks other people are happy just because how they use exclamation marks and clear nail polish. And it's just, yeah, it's interesting for sure. So mine was, it is quite a revelation to discover that the place you wanted to escape is the exact same place that you escaped from, that the prison isn't the place, but the perspective. And I just thought that that was made me think, because it's like you wanted to escape so badly, yet you ended up just coming back right to the place where it all started. And it really isn't as bad as you intended or you thought it was in the beginning. And we went through this whole journey to come back to the same spot. But she's now a better person, and she's, more full and has a brand new perspective on life. So
Yeah, that was from the end, right? Like that whole volcano monologue chapter, right?
I think so. Yeah. I didn't put the page.
All
So
right, all good. Yeah, I remember reading that. That whole that whole area felt very preachy to me. So I think that's why I didn't take that quote away from that.
I thought
But
that one just kind of wraps up the whole book.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
I think that's good. Yeah.
Yes, especially that bit where it's like the prison wasn't the place, but the perspective. I just love that line. It's so poetic with like the alliteration kind of.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
Mhm.
it is.
So, I know we briefly mentioned this earlier, but he talks a lot. I read this whole Guardian interview he did in 2018, where he says a majority of his books are based on this mental breakdown he had when he was, I think, 24.
Yeah.
And he almost took his own life. He like walked out onto this cliff by the sea and was like, this is it, I'm done. And before he took the step, he just kind of came to this self-revelation where it's like, this is actually really beautiful. I don't want to do this. And as a result, and that's where his memoir came from after that experience. And I can really see how that experience, like now that I know that, and I look at the book and I see all these quotes about like perspective and seeing things from a different angle. I can see how that experience really shaped this book.
That is just crazy because it's such a sensitive time in his life. And for him to be able to come out with several books and be so open with his experience, it's challenging just to admit it. But to be able to create content in a book for everyone to read and take from, I feel like that's so special of him to do that and to kind of just open that door. It's hard to do that, and just to be able to talk about it and for him to create several books about what he went through. That's just amazing for him to do that because it's helping so many people, and so many people are going through these exact same feelings, like regret, and everyone's dealing with their own lives. And I think that that's really cool that he's able to help others.
It's hard to be that vulnerable.
Yeah.
Regret is such a universal experience. And yet it's something we so rarely talk about. It's like taboo, like, oh, I regret not doing that. And it's like, no, don't. But we all do it. It's not like something we can stop doing. It's just like almost human nature. And so for him to be so honest about it, and specifically with this very like, oh goodness, what's the word? But just this very vulnerable experience is really just amazing of him, like you said. In that interview, actually, he talked about why he's so open is actually for like partly for his kids, because he never wants like his kids to have to like go through the same experience he had where he felt so alone, like he
Wow.
couldn't talk about it at all. So he wanted us to create this content to talk about it in like as much as like as heavy as this book is, it talks about like suicide and depression in still a pretty whimsical manner, like a midnight library, and you're going in all these books and you're going in all these stories. And he wanted to create content like that so that so that his own kids, should they struggle with the same thing he does, like with depression, anxiety, because those are hereditary. It is proven. He didn't want them to feel as alone as he did, which I think is really beautiful and really amazing of him.
That is. I didn't know that. That puts a whole new light on him as a person. I just want to go give him a hug right now.
I think it's even cooler though that he's doing it for his own kids because now he's able to discuss such a sensitive topic, firsthand on his behalf. He's able to now tell children, not children, but just, young adults, people that are probably experiencing with it, more than the average adult. So I think that that's even cooler because a lot of times those hard topics would be aimed more towards adults. And I just think that that's really neat that he's able to bring it to a lower audience as well.
Yeah, I don't think this book is like at all made for kids, but he does have a lot of like children's works, and I'm almost interested to read in them because I know in the interview it mentioned, I can't remember what book he was talking about because it was 2018. Oh, it was The Truth Pixie, I think. And it's about depression and about feeling sad as a kid. And I want to kind of see how he approaches that for that young age.
What's the age range for that?
I have the Guardian article right now.
Because I think, I don't know, probably like 13 and up could read the Midnight Library just fine.
Yeah, it is a Truth Pixie though. All right, it's for ages 5 and older. It's about hope and mental health. I don't know. I think if I read this when I was 13 though, like I could have read it, but I don't think I would have liked it. I would have sort of been like, just get over herself. What is this?
It would have gone over my head.
Yeah.
I mean, the books I was reading at 13, I was trying to read The Lord of the Rings. All that went over my head. So, yeah.
Like I think I just would have been caught up in the whimsy of it. I wouldn't have understood the gravity of what he was talking about.
Yeah, I like it from like the sci-fi point of view, kind of like visiting different lives. That not sci-fi, that's not the right fantasy. That fantasy point of view. Like how he uses that as a way to discuss this. I think that's really creative. And I don't think a lot of people do that, or I just haven't read the books where people do that.
I mean, the biggest one I can think of that like handles a really heavy topic through fantasy. I feel like most fantasy books do this, but the one that immediately comes to mind is the Philip Pullman His Dark Materials, where it talks about like abuse within the church, which is a
Oh,
really ridiculously heavy topic in a
wow.
pretty young children's novel.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I
And
haven't read that.
I feel like that's like pretty common in fantasy actually to like attack these really heavy topics. Because it adds this sort of distance where it's like, oh, it's not happening to you, it's happening to an ogre. And oh, it's not depression, it's a wizard, and he's just taking over the kingdom. And like those are really bad examples, but it just works to like bring that distance where it's like, okay, you can understand how this relates to the topic and how it is representative of like mental health or like these issues, but making it this otherworldly thing makes it like easier to conquer, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like it's
Yeah.
easier to defeat a person than it is to defeat a thought, I feel like. And that's why fantasy is so good at exploring these really difficult topics, because you can have like these sort of analogies from like mental health and things like that, but it's not as like heavy. I keep saying
Yeah.
heavy, but I don't know what other word.
I think that works. So what do you guys think of the book length? Was it too long, too short, just right?
For me, I felt throughout my experience with this book, I felt like it was just fine. But I think because he's able to create 25 to 30 books now, I'm wondering, does he have a more lengthier book? So, I mean, if he does, and whatever the topic is, I would definitely read more from Haig. But I felt like with the material and what he was doing, if we went a little bit longer and experienced more lives, I feel like it could just be more repetitive and kind of go through all of that again.
Yeah, I think he got his point across. I thought it was a perfect length. Like, as much as I'd want to see other lives, like I feel like it was just very effective for what it was.
Yeah, the only thing I would have liked to be added is a bit more background with Dan, but other than that, I think it's like a perfect length. Like I think I read it in one sitting, which was
Okay.
really kind of therapeutic.
Yeah, I read
And
it
so I
over like
really
2
liked that you were
weeks.
able to do that.
Um, so this one's a fun one. What songs did this book make you think of? Like, if you had to put a playlist together or have a composer write a soundtrack for this, like, what would it be?
Mm.
It's like, for me, I don't know if you guys have seen La La Land, Justin Hurwitz. Like, he also did First Man. Like, just that emotion he puts in his music just really like resonate with me. If we had to do a movie or a TV show, I would want him to do the soundtrack.
I'm immediately thinking of the guy who did the Up soundtrack. I think it was Hans Zimmerman.
Oh, Michael Giannaccio.
Oh, wow. Completely off.
No,
But
no,
yeah.
you were pretty close. Hans Zimmer does a lot, but I feel like his is just more epic.
Yeah.
But yeah, Up. Ooh, I actually just watched a YouTube video the other day on like the you know that first song, "Married
Ooh,
Life."
ow.
Oh my. That's a whole other tangent we won't get on. We could talk about that later if people want to listen about that. But yeah, Michael Giannaccio would do great.
I don't have anyone like specific, but I just think that if it was like fun songs based off of like the type of life we're in, like when she's in the Arctic, if we have some I don't know, like National Geographic kind of just, and then whenever she's a rock star, some like hardcore rock in the background. I don't know, I just think that would be really fun. And then you have the Olympic song when she's, being an Olympic swimmer. Yeah.
It's like a whole different soundtrack for each life.
For everything, yeah.
Yeah,
That'd be
that would
really
be pretty
interesting.
Yeah, we get some like Nordic sounds for the Arctic because she was up in Norway, right? Get some like, oh, I forget the instrument names, but the Assassin's Creed Valhalla soundtrack has some really nice like Nordic sounding tracks on there. Maybe that could go great with that, or like the actually Married Life would go great with her last life that she was in from Up. That one might go great there. Have that really heart gripping scene there where as she's leaving the life. Oh my gosh, that would just be so
The close
powerful.
tie for my favorite quote was where he's like, "Don't worry about the flowers; they've already been watered. Nature will take care of them."
That was good.
I'm getting like choked up.
That was really good. Yeah.
Cool.
And I think from that scene, now that I know that he has kids, the reason why that scene is so good makes so much sense. I think if we were thinking of like specific songs though, like not a composer, but like specific songs, what would you guys pick?
No idea.
I'm immediately thinking of ABBA is like Mamma Mia. Like, oh goodness, how does it go? Like, Mamma Mia, here we go again.
Oh yeah,
She just keeps doing the lives over and over.
So
Yeah,
that would be in like the trailer, just like constantly. Yeah. Okay.
I feel like some classic rock would be good, just because she has
Oh,
like
definitely.
Yeah.
the band life. Yeah. Maybe some Bee Gees. I don't know why. I think some like 70s vibes.
You know, Florence and the Machine, like, I didn't realize this, but they have a song named Howl as well. Because I know that's a big thing where she writes a song named Howl
Yeah.
in the book.
Yeah. Huh.
So maybe some of them.
Interesting. Yeah. Maybe some like indie rock. She seems like she would be into some indie rock. I don't know. What do Flossy majors listen to? I don't know.
Do you have any songs, Allie?
No, I mean, I don't know. I just think that the Mamma Mia one for the trailer would be perfect. But yeah, I'm not really sure. I don't really listen to music whenever I'm like reading. I get really distracted. So like trying to imagine like songs playing while I'm reading is hard, but also like watching the movie, I don't know, it's a lot to think about. But yeah, I don't know. I think you guys had some great ideas though.
It was hard to like figure out one song. That's why I asked the composer. I was thinking about the vibes more than just like a specific song.
Yeah.
That was just really hard.
I really like the idea of like being like having a lot of classic rock though, because that's such a big part of her life.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. What character would you guys like to meet?
Dan, so I can punch him in the face.
I think I would want to be, her name was Miss Elm, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just think that would be so fun, not fun, but just an interesting perspective, just seeing her come to terms with so many things from where she was at the beginning to how she was at the very end. And then also her visiting her, like the last scene, I loved that. But I think she's also such a crucial character in the whole film, or not film, we're thinking about movies now, but in the whole book. So I just really liked that.
I feel like that's really tough because I feel like the secondary characters really changed from life to life. So they're like almost not the same character sometimes, especially when they're not there. Like Joel, he's not there in the music life, but I mean, like what's his name? The other musician dude. I forget his name now. That was in the band also, Ravi, right? I mean, he was completely different in each life. I feel like I would like to meet probably meet him. I don't remember which version. I think it was it the Olympic Life version or was it the music version? Can't remember now. One of them just seemed like a pretty chill dude.
I think it was Ravi you're thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah, but was he the Olympic or the band Robbie? Because there was one where he was like a total jerk.
I think that was the Root Life that he was just a jerk. And then in the Olympic Life he was like wearing a suit. He showed up like, to the the TED Talk looking nice, like he got himself together. I think that was the one.
Okay.
Was he in the band?
Yeah, he was. Because remember, he said Joe's doing the press,
Yeah,
and that home is communication.
that's right. Yeah, I think I'd want to meet that Robbie in the band. I think it's because like I used to want to be in a band, so I just like want to just talk to him about like what life is like, what it's like going on tour and whatnot.
Can we just talk about like how it seems like from what like you told us, this entire book span like came to life because it was like, I wonder what if I had like kept up with piano lessons, what would my life be?
Yeah,
Like what a cool thing that is. Kind of like you said, like, oh, I've always wanted to be in a band. What would happen if I was in a band?
right. Yeah, like inspiration comes from anywhere. That's crazy. Yeah,
And I feel like that's a universal experience where it's like, what if I had done an instrument? What if I had done a band?
right. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
the small decisions, like what if I turned left instead of right at this red light, could completely change your life. Like the one episode of Doctor Who. I think it's season 4. I don't know if you guys have seen Doctor Who.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking
Middle
about?
school.
Do you remember which episode I'm talking about? It's the David Tennant years. It's what's her name?
Yes, the nurse,
The
right? She was a
Donna.
nurse.
Donna, she's like in the car driving and she keeps turning either left or right and she's stuck in a time loop
Oh,
and then she just has to turn the other way. Anyway, that's a whole other tangent. I saw that
I
years
remember
ago,
that
but
episode. I'm
yeah,
so sorry.
no, all good. Um, what did you guys think about the book's title?
Misleading.
Misleading.
Yeah, because I think I remember I hadn't read like the excerpt
Mm-hmm.
before I picked it up, but I was like, this looks like a fun little book.
Oh man.
Because I never really read excerpts. I was just like,
Yeah.
look, I think the biggest thing is the cover. Like the
Mm,
cover is so nice and whimsical, and the name, the Midnight Library. I'm like, this is going to be a nice, relaxing read
I do not
for
like
me to
the
begin
cover.
my Sunday morning.
You didn't like
I
the cover?
No, I like the European cover better, the paperback European version,
Yes, I've seen
because
it.
this is the cover of the hardback, American hardback. It doesn't match. There's an airplane on here. Like
I
where
was
does
going
an
to say that,
airplane
like, it
happen in the
doesn't
book?
match the vibes.
No, it doesn't. I mean, there's the swimming, there's the cat. Is that a fishing pole? No, that's a microphone. Like, okay, I guess there's mountains there. There's a whale. I guess a whale, but like it just doesn't fit.
Yeah.
It just it's beautifully done. Whoever drew it did a great job, but it feels wrong for the book. Yeah, but even the European one isn't that much better, but I still feel like it's better because it's like one building,
Yeah.
and instead of like here it's like 2D, it's like a 3D, people going in and out the windows. I think it just looks cooler, but
I mean,
yeah,
I definitely agree that it definitely does not look like what you're about to experience when you look at it. Um, yeah, I had no idea what I was going into. I try to do that with all my books. I don't like to know a lot just because I feel like my expectations just are really high when I do that. But yeah, I had no idea, but I did think that it was going to be a fun way to like experience different lives and stuff like that. But I did not understand how heavy of a topic it was going to cover. But again, I'm really happy that I was able to read it and hear others' perspectives. And I just feel like I'm really happy I read it, like super happy.
yeah. I thought it was interesting because I was reading an interview and he said he gets the title of the book first before he starts writing the book. I think that's what it said. What other title do you think would be good?
The Book of Regrets.
Oh,
That's more like it. I would understand
yeah,
what I'm getting into at that point.
yeah. I
But in
wanted
a
to
way,
see
I
more
guess
with
like he
that.
didn't want to do that. He wanted us, I think, maybe to go in thinking this was this light little whimsical book and then hit us with the heaviness that is what is the meaning of life and what do I like?
Yeah, or that he didn't want us to take away that it was about regrets. Really, I mean, it was about perspective. What about
Because
alternate?
didn't the Book of Regrets like go away like at the end of it? So
It
like
did.
if the book was called the Book of Regrets, we would still have the Book of Regrets. So it probably wouldn't work that way, I guess.
It shrunk as she went and like crossed off like in the very beginning when she went back and saw that Volts, left the house, and one of her regrets was like, I wish I took better care of Volts. And then she saw what happened and she came back and that regret was gone. Um I thought that was interesting. I wish we saw more of the Book of Regrets, but I understand why we didn't.
One thing I did not understand, I feel like this would have been like such an easy choice to make. Why wasn't the book green? Like that was a whole thing about the Midnight Library, her Midnight Library. All the books were green.
What color was it? I forgot.
And it's blue.
Oh, I thought you meant the Book of Regrets. No, you're right.
That would have been an easy fix, but yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe they just thought blue would be better. Blue's a trendier color.
I guess.
Or maybe
I don't know.
like the sky is blue because it's like
And it was like
midnight.
midnight, I guess.
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that is kind of like a midnight blue.
Because I'm looking at the UK version and it's like a starry night, like on the cover, so it's like blue with like stars all over it. So those blues match, but I definitely agree like it should have been green, just to kind of tie it all together, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Like the font's green, but is that enough? No.
The
Is
font,
it green or is it yellow?
I thought it was yellow. It
Oh,
looks
yeah.
yellow to me.
No.
Like a very, very, very
This
like
is
pasty
green.
yellow.
Don't give them
No.
credit, okay? They totally missed the ball on that one.
I do know, like, normally the way book covers are made, though, it's like they just get that short little book synopsis that we see on the inside cover, and like the
Okay.
title, and it's like go.
Okay.
So we can't give them too much. But
So you're saying that the artists that make the covers don't read the books?
not usually, no, because like the book's not done when they make it.
Oh,
And I know like authors have like little to no say in how the cover looks. But yeah.
that sucks. You work so hard on making this book and you have no say in what it looks like.
Yeah, and I feel like this is a little off topic, but I think that's why so many book covers look the same nowadays. Because everything wants to follow this strict aesthetic rather than what the book's vibe is. Like with this one, like it doesn't match what the book is about, but it fits the aesthetic that books are leaning towards now.
Yeah, totally.
That makes sense. I
That's
didn't realize that.
unfortunate.
No. It also bugs me that like they have the Good Morning America sticker right here. Like it's not a sticker, it's printed on there. Like, I just want to take it off. It's like covering the name and I can't take it off.
It's like my biggest book pet peeve ever. I hate it.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think of like the actual book itself? Personally, I hate it. Like the actual, like not dust cover. What is this?
It's so plain. So plain.
It looks like something that'd be on my grandpa, who's like obsessed with the Gators. This would be on the shelf.
Yeah.
Where does the orange come in? And this blue, it doesn't even match the blue.
Totally could have done so much more with it.
Yeah, green would have been better. I'm sure they bind the book after it's written, so that would have been easy, right?
I know, just match the font, make it the green.
Mm-hmm.
Even like some hardcovers, they have like fun engravings on it. Like they could do like stars or like whatever, you know, but it's very plain.
Yeah.
And my book I didn't get it on sale. I had to buy this thing full price, $24. And to get that,
rip off.
And it's like 280 pages too.
I don't want bad financial decisions aside.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got the physical book and checked out the ebook from the library so I could make notes. I don't like writing in books, like physically writing it. I don't know. I just don't like doing that. So I'll get the ebook and highlight all over that.
I always read on my phone, so like highlighting with your finger never goes well.
Really?
Just, like, the entire page.
Really? Well, I have the. Oh, where'd my phone go? My phone's gone. I have the Note 20, so I use the S Pen.
Oh, I don't have a pen. Maybe if I got a pen, it'd be easier. But I've got really chubby fingers, so it doesn't really work.
I like to have my books because then I'm not like messing it up.
I also feel like there's something about like seeing the like progress of fingers, like that I've read this much today.
Mm-hmm.
That makes it really satisfying.
Yeah.
And I think during the picnic we were talking about like how satisfying it is. Well, it is a lot easier at times to like highlight in ebooks and like bookmark in ebooks to see all those tabs and to see all those notes and like highlights in the book.
Oh my gosh, I could show you my books right now. They are tabbed out. Here, let me get off one. Yeah, this is one of them. Oh, can you see it?
What
Yeah,
are
What
all
is
those
that?
tabs for?
so this is the
Oh.
household friends. But I have like a little key on the inside, so each like color means
That is
something
cute.
else.
Hmm.
So like red is death or injury, and then I have one that was like, oh my God, such a cute moment, emotional, important plot. So yeah, they all just mean something else, and I keep it consistent like throughout the other books, but I'll do it for a book that I like know I'm gonna love and I want to reread. So when I reread it, I know I liked it, and then I can just pay more attention to it,
Mhm.
Interesting. I guess I'm
I
reading
felt like
wrong.
this book would be really interesting to like tab and write because I've only highlighted like my favorite lines, but the way it was written was so poetic.
Hmm.
Like especially your quote that you chose, Ali, like that alliteration is beautiful.
Mhm.
And so I feel like going through and like tabbing all those really beautiful lines would would be such a great way to read this book in like a different way.
And we had questions from some of the people in the club, right?
Yes. Here, let me put them up.
Because the only other question I have is, did the characters seem believable to you?
I feel like that was one of the strengths, especially like Nora's characterization. I felt like was really good.
Yeah.
Like I was really rooting for her, like from the get-go, because I understood and related to her so much.
I thought Nora,
So, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say I thought Nora was really well done. I thought some of the secondary characters felt like
Yeah.
kind of afterthoughts.
One thing
But
he did specifically with Nora, I don't know if you guys have heard of this method when like writing at all. It's called like the save the cat method to get your protagonist instantly relatable.
I
It's
haven't heard
really
of it.
well, I think it's like a screenplay thing where it's like you have the character save an animal or save something innocent.
Hmm.
And he literally had no idea that. He had like the first thing she did when she got to the secret library was like, I want to save my cat.
Huh. I
And
didn't
so
I
I
know
thought
that.
that
never
was
knew
really cute.
that.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
It's like a really famous screenplay book, I think, called like it's like called like Save the Cat. But
Hmm. Hmm.
Now I'm gonna like notice that every time I read something and like the character just heroically saves like a squirrel or something. I'm like, see, I see what you're doing.
yeah, like the
Yeah.
most famous example I think is the John Wick guy. When he like raises the dog from a puppy and like within the first 10 minutes the dog is like brutally murdered. And you're really like, you can go kill those guys. Do whatever you want. You can
Yeah.
do these awful things. He killed the dog. He's dead.
Mhm.
Okay, so some questions from Instagram were, we already discussed this, but like the deeper message of the book, we kind of already went over that. But another one was, will she remember the Midnight Library? What do we think?
This was a big question I had when I was reading, where it's just like, at the end, will it become? I think we talked about it in the actual book club discussion. Will it seem like a dream to her, or will it remain as vivid as it is in that moment?
So
I don't think she's gonna remember it. I think the library is long gone, and I think that she finally got to the place where she was intended to go to, and I think that that's it.
I think it'll be a dream. Like, everybody's had that one dream that's just like stuck with them for like forever. You'll remember it. I feel like it'll be like that for her. There's a couple plot holes there at the end where she like tells her brother about, what was the other guy named Craig? Or no, it's not Craig. It's something like she tells him like, yeah, go get him. But
Yeah.
she really
Ewan,
shouldn't remember
Ewan,
that.
Ewan. I think his name is. I'm not
Oh
saying it
yeah,
right.
Ewan, because like Ewan McGregor is Ewan.
Yes, that's what I was
Yeah,
trying to go.
yeah. I used to say Ewan for like years, so it feels wrong saying Ewan. So I'm sorry to any Ewan out there. I've been pronouncing your name wrong for like my whole life. But yeah, like there's a couple plot holes like that. So that's why I think she'll always remember it as a dream. And like never forget about it.
I remember there was some point in the book where Miss Elm was like, once you find your place, at first it'll be really vivid, but then throughout time, everything will just remember and you'll move seamlessly back into this life as if the Midnight Library had never happened. So I figured that was what was going to happen. But at the same time, if that did happen, all her character development would be gone.
Yeah,
All this new perspective she earned would just be obsolete.
yeah,
And I don't want to think that way. I want to think that she would have this feeling like, I need to continue being positive. I need to remember that everything is in perspective. I need to like look at things differently. And I want to have that sort of optimism that, like you said, she has a dream or something. She remembers it like a dream.
Yeah, or like it fades, and when she needs it, it comes back in her memory, or she has that dream again.
Like she goes, as soon as she gets home, she has a diary and she's like, remember everything.
Right. Yeah, that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Hopefully she does that.
Yeah.
Yeah. In my head canon, she does that. Yeah.
Another question was, did anyone else feel like this should have come with a trigger warning because of how depressing it was? And
If the cover was done well, it wouldn't have needed a trigger warning.
yeah. I mean, but there really isn't any kind of disclosure like anywhere on the book, is there? Like in the beginning?
But in general, in books, that's not the case.
If you like read through it, there's a couple quotes in the beginning. There's a quote by Sylvia Plath. I can never be all the people I want and live all the lives I want, and blah, blah, blah. Like it doesn't discuss death. And then it says between life and death, there's a library, and it goes to that quote, which also doesn't, give like a trigger warning. Then you get to the first page of the book, and here's the first line of the book. 19 years before she decided to die, Nora Seed sat in the warmth of the small library at Hazeldine School in the town of Bedford. That's a long sentence, but like that first part, 19 years before she decided to die, to me, that's the trigger warning right there. Like, oh, like,
I was
so
going to
that's
say,
where we're going.
a quote from Sylvia Plath is the trigger warning.
I honestly do not know who she is.
Do you know who she is, Ellie?
No.
Oh my gosh, she's like, okay, she wrote The Bell Jar. She wrote a lot of really famous poetry, she ended up she's really famous for being like that tragic artist figure. All of her work kind of centers around her struggle with depression, and she ends up killing herself.
Oh, wow.
The 1950s or 60s, I think. And so she's really remembered for like talking about these taboo topics for the time. One of her most favorite poems is like called The Cut, and it's literally about her like self-harming and stuff. So
Wow. That would
I
help
guess
if
if you
I had
weren't
known who she was.
If I would have known that, then I would probably have been like, okay, this makes sense.
But in general, I feel like trigger warnings aren't common on books, which is odd.
So I read a lot of reviews, and on those, it's very common for people to say, hey, this is what this book kind of has. Read out your own disclosure. So, I mean, yeah, but I've never seen one like in a book, now that like I think about it.
So
It like sort of you rely on the consumer to put the trigger warning or seek out the trigger warning, which is
dangerous.
Great. Yeah.
Because I mean, if someone's not in the right mindset to read something that is very sensitive, I don't think that that's really a good idea. So hopefully they read reviews.
Do you think if there was a trigger warning, that would have diminished the effect of the book?
No.
Like no?
Because I mean, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go.
I think that would honestly be better because he's accepting the fact that other people might be on a different path and in their own journey, right? So maybe they, at this point in their life, they aren't at the point where they would accept this story to its full capacity. And when they are at that point in their life, then they can come back to this book and really take everything that this book is offering. And I think that because of the subject matter, him putting a warning on it, I think you're just opening it up to everyone. You're saying, hey, look, I know you might be on your own journey and that's okay. Instead of just not having anything. I think it's such heavy material, and I think he kind of needs to. And relying on the consumer, I don't think that that's very smart.
And I was going to say, like, from the first line of the book, you realize that it's going to talk about suicide. So the trigger warning wouldn't really have any effect as long as you just say, hey, this deals with some really heavy topics about depression and suicide. Right. Then you go forth, because it like talks about that right in the beginning line. Wouldn't be taking anything away. It just would stop it from doing harm to people rather than benefiting them. Because I don't think he wrote this being like, people who aren't ready should read this. I don't think he like wrote it for that purpose. He wrote it to help people and to share like his own experience and what he's learned from his experiences. So if anything, I think it could have only helped to reach the audience he wanted it to.
I think it would have helped if I was more familiar with his work. Because I mean, I think the previous book was his memoir, right?
I think that was released in like 2014, actually.
Oh, never mind. But like if you're familiar with him, then you know what you're getting into. But like someone like me, I had no clue what I was getting into. This is my first book by him. I'd love to read some of his other books. He's got me interested, but yeah, you also don't have reviews in the library. You know, if you're just looking in the library or through like the store or something, unless you sit there on your phone and look the books up, then you're not going to have those reviews to look up.
Yeah, and Goodreads is my best friend. I absolutely love Goodreads. And they even have like an option for people that are making reviews to add like a spoiler warning on it. So if you do look at it, you kind of have you can see as much as you want to see. And people are really diligent on putting out warnings. So
I was going to say that's one really amazing thing about like the book community in general is no one wants to spoil anything.
Yeah.
So using sources like Goodreads is really great. But then I'm thinking about like me, I didn't know Goodreads existed until I joined this club. I would have just been wandering around the library and been like, that's a pretty cover. And I would have not had it. Like right now, this book was great for me. It was amazing. But I know if I had like read this, say in June, mid-quarantine, this would not have been a great book for me. I mean, like, for me, it was just a dark time because like my entire life was getting flipped upside down with no real ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
And like the whole regret thing was a bit too strong. I didn't really want to read about that. Yeah. And so, I don't know, I really could have used a little bit, I feel like. Or even just putting like a review on the cover that said like he tackled depression and things like that really well.
I think there's reviews on the back, right?
Yeah.
Do you have like an about the author section?
Yeah,
it does on the back flap. Yeah.
But it doesn't say anything about his struggles with depression. It just talks about different, like the 2 books I mentioned and the 30 different languages. Okay. In general, I think that like publishers should get more diligent about having more trigger warnings and things like that on their books, because I feel like it's one of the few pieces of media that don't have that still.
Yeah.
And the book community is so good about that. And it goes down to everything, not just, these types of heavy situations. They kind of do it for anything that could be a sensitive topic. And I think that that's really important.
But then there's that issue of like, you're relying on the consumer.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if I was in middle school and I'd read this book, and I don't know. Yeah. I mean, maybe we're thinking too hard about it, but.
Yeah, this could be something we could talk about in another episode or something. Look more into it or whatnot.
Okay, so I guess we should thank everyone for tuning into our first ever UpAllKnight Book Club podcast. Let us know, go to our Instagram, UpAllKnight Book Club, capital letters, to let us know what you thought, if you have any suggestions. And yeah.
And stay tuned because they will be coming back for more. And every month they will be doing a podcast on the book of the month. So
yeah, let us know if you'd like to be a part of it. We're hoping to have more guests.
And all you have to do is just DM the account on Instagram and just request that you'd like to join and be a guest on the podcast, and we will set it all up with them.
All right, I'll see you guys next time. This was fun.
Yes.